Welcome back, Dota 2 fans. This could be our final game of the day in Group C of the Bridon Open Cup. We've got xGame KZ versus Vega Squadron. Vega taking an hour and 5-minute game up against MYI in our first matchup of the day. If you guys didn't notice from the standings, if they beat xGame KZ here, they will tie them in record and have gone 1-1 against each other. So we will go to another best of one to be played today to decide the winner of this Group C. But xGame KZ, by virtue of their undefeated record thus far, do hold their fate in their own hands, and if they win, they will move on to Group C. I am Maurice, please, your resident Canadian Dota 2 caster, joined by Mike Aloris, and we are HeflaTV, your English coverage. Mike, what's the forecast on this one?
Man, I haven't seen xGame perform in a long time. You said that you predicted they have a very quick win, and well, from what I've seen of xGame in the past, they tend to be a little bit more of a slow and steady team. I don't know if they've been working with Bridon and Vlad in their previous games of the set, but that could throw a wrench in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, they've been working with Vlad. Bignum stands in from time to time. He's actually stood in for quite a few teams, even in Group B thus far, and it's funny because he is playing with Album Sheet in Group D of the Bridon League, but either way, it doesn't seem like there's a restriction in that manner. But yeah, xGame have effectively been the basically unknown of this Group C. I don't think that they've taken a game beyond the 26 or so minute mark, and really no competition up against them. And the 3 games that they actually have played so far are 2 versus MYI and 1 versus Vega, because both games they were supposed to play against 5 and 3 actually forfeited. So we haven't even seen them play against what is considered certainly the weakest team in this group. And we will see Vega open with a troll, so this is something that they have run for Mantis as well as for Reeves on xGame, so perhaps a bit of a pick deny, but Vega does certainly run this as well from time to time. Jug IO bans from xGame, Brewmaster Axe bans from Vega.
Right, so Vega Squadron, I don't know if we're actually going to have the tiebreaker today, if it is actually needed. So we'll keep you guys updated as to the status of that. But xGame opened up with the Vengeful Spirit. We saw the power of the Venge in the last game. The Vega Squadron side used it so well up against the likes of Chronosphere, the likes of pretty much just damage in general. Getting your carry out is something so unique among support heroes, and Vengeful Spirit does it by far the best. Opening up with the Troll Warlord first, though, is inherently an aggressive strategy for Vega Squadron. They are going to be looking for heroes with on-hit effects to make use of the Battle Trance, Slark, Faceless Void, Legion Commander, some of the best ones that I've seen, but there are so many in the pool that you can make pretty much anything work there. Their tower destruction is also going to be the real deal, so it's most likely going to be xGame, unless they want to fight fire with fire, going to be on the defensive most of the time up against the Troll Warlord first pick.
Yeah, definitely so. Interesting to come out with the Magnus this early from xGame. Dazzle going to be picked up from Vega. Definitely combos up very well with the Troll. Allows him to get off a few more stacks of Fervor, and probably with Lifesteal, perhaps get his life back up to a reasonable amount, especially with that Shadow Wave. Physical damage nuke, also fairly nice against what xGame has thus far. But yeah, seeing a couple of you guys in chat say that you think the top 3 from each group going through. That's not the case. I have contacted Liquipedia about that, so unfortunately they do have that listed improperly, but the actual official Bridon League rules, only the top goes through to the group stage from. So that will be 4 teams. Currently BBC and basically unknown are through. Group D begins tomorrow, Group D coverage, and this game and perhaps the tiebreaker afterwards will decide which team I should say will join BBC and BU. Phoenix Band comes out from xGame here. Interesting stuff from them. Not sure if they're picking up heroes who don't have the quickest right clicks to bring down that Supernova. A little bit interesting there. AA Band comes out from Vega, so Lizard was pretty much a nuisance against them last game. Brewmaster picked up by themselves. Don't want to see either of those heroes after that hour and 5-minute game.
All right, so Vega Squadron, they're going to be grabbing the Dazzle with their Troll Warlord, which I think is fine for now. Their synergy is more so on the fact that Dazzle just enables Troll Warlord to go ham in the early stage of the game. Outside of that, nothing too impressive coming out from these two as a combination. I guess minus minor armor swing down the line, but that's not really too huge. The Magnus pick rather early from xGame. It is a hero that in the past they have tended to favor, and It's usually a hero that you can get a little bit later, but it's going to be a reasonable hero for now. Really, xGame, they have a very safe opening, very similar to like a Vengeful Spirit Brewmaster, except with Magnus, and
Right.
that's fine. Legion Commander going to be the ban out, getting rid of that attack speed synergy with the Troll Warlord, and actually the Phantom Assassin getting the boot out from Vega Squadron. They just really don't want to be going up against a Phantom Assassin with Empower because that is just a little bit too much to deal with.
Yeah, and luckily for them, Juggernaut banned out by xGame, also one of the scarier heroes with Empower, especially recently, as well as he does with that attack speed. So xGame gonna have to look to find a carry here. They can jump for the Void. There is, of course, the Shallow Grave, though, which does thwart the solo attempts of some Chronospheres, but if you're able to get that Dazzle within the Chronosphere, it should be a very nice ability. Also, RP, it synergizes decently well with the Chronosphere. Usually, you can't overlap them, but RP into a Chrono is very nice, and if you RP and your team converges and gets Chrono, that's really detrimental to your ability to do well in a team fight. So xGame, if they don't pick up this Void for themselves, I do expect them to perhaps ban it out here after. Troll Warlord, pretty decent mid laner, even up against a Magnus, so Vega can certainly afford to go for that Void themselves.
Yeah, Voids should be a pretty premium hero for either side right now, and maybe we're just going to see neither side really want to commit to it just because it is a melee hero. It does make your lanes fairly weak. Maybe you're just going to wait as long as you can to grab that play, I guess, Faceless Void Chicken, I guess you could call it. But either way, it's less likely that Vega Squadron are going to want to grab it for themselves, despite the synergy with the Troll Warlord. Up against Vengeful Spirit, it's a little bit too much. And xGame grab a Shadow Shaman. Is this 2013? Is this what's going on right now? Because this is a very old opening from xGame.
I've actually seen it one other time in Bridon, and I can't exactly recall what team played it, but I do remember being really surprised to see it being picked up. I mean, regardless, it will add some push to the lineup. Definitely some reliable disable with the Hex. Shackle not as reliable, especially into the Troll Warlord, as he does have that bash, but either way, he's going to be able to be bursted down fairly quick, and this does make their lanes pretty weak. Shadow Shaman pretty slow early on, also fairly squishy. Vengeful Spirit very short range, so it'll be interesting to see how they make this work for xGame. Tusk will be picked up here from Vega, so that'll give them a bit of roam potential. Does make their lanes decently weak as well. They do lack a little bit of disable, but the Snowball is nice defensively, allows that Shadow Wave to cool down, or the Shallow Grave as well. And we will see xGame pick up Mantis's Medusa. They could run this in the mid lane as well, but usually he picks that up in the one position, and they do have that Magnus. So xGame perhaps looking to take this one late. I haven't seen them take a game over around the 25-minute mark thus far in Bridon, so this could be a first, and perhaps playing off that mental fatigue that may be affecting the Vega players at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable way to go for xGame. The enemy team literally just got finished with an hour-long game. You make them play another one where you're fresh and you're ready to go. But also, like, xGame, characteristically, one of the more slow and steady teams. They like to just buy a lot of space for Mantis. If they have an opportunity, they're going to go ahead and win the game in sub 25 minutes if you let them. But other than that, Medusa, as far as late game capacity, is looking to be more or less untouched. As Vega Squadron, they grab a Clockwork for their 4th pick. Their Tusk as the 3rd pick is going to be a lot more defensive in this game. Doesn't really have the synergy with Vengeful Spirit where they could actually go around and kill things. They're going to be together with the Dazzle, and you could actually just get some nice aggressive synergy with the Troll Warlord instead. Saw Screen in the chat earlier firing some shots, and I think he's justified in his ability to do so. But this is a very defensive Tusk. This is a very defensive support combo for Vega Squadron, but this Tusk is still going to let both the Clockwork and the Troll Warlord get close to their targets. And if you're looking at Medusa, Shadow Shaman, or Vengeful Spirit as your target, they're pretty much screwed as long as the Snowball connects. So it's going to be up to Vega Squadron to play this game aggressively and really crack the Medusa before Medusa gets way too big. So they need a hero that could fight early, very early for Vega Squadron and really apply some serious pressure.
Yeah, they can definitely go for one of those space-creating mids, initiating mids like the Storm Spirit or the Puck. They are going to lack a little bit of burst thus far into this Medusa, and perhaps a Diffusal Blade comes out at some point for that Troll Warlord. I do worry for their ability to feed damage into the cogs, but perhaps the Clockwork's intention is simply to use them to isolate a hero and Force Staff himself out. They really only have the range form of the Berserker's Rage from the Troll Warlord, as well as those ranged whirling axes to throw into the cogs. And the mana burn from the cogs is nice against Medusa, but it's very situational, so I don't anticipate that being the reason for this Clockwork pickup, but perhaps just to stave off that Magnus from skewering back some of his teammates. But either way, they're going to ban out the OD from xGame. Interesting choice from them. Definitely don't want that mid lane to be dominated. They certainly want the Magnus to be able to start creating some space for this Medusa. And speaking of space creation, Vega going to ban out that Broodmother.
Pretty sure we're going to see a lifestealer here from Vega. As you said, Clockwork doesn't really have any huge direct synergy aside from cogs always being kind of useful. And I mean, they have some initiation with Clockwork, but if you really want initiation, I feel like in general, Batrider is going to be a little bit more useful for your team. Maybe not up against Vengeful Spirit, Shadow Shaman, but I would say Clockwork is more of a secondary initiation hero that you're going to be considering a little bit down the line. So that's the reason why they didn't pick up Batrider, obviously. But the synergy between Clockwork and Lifestealer now up against the Zeus, having that natural rage, I guess, magic immunity, it's going to be justifiable, I would say. Medusa Magnus with answers. But someone along those lines, someone who could abuse the fact that Clockwork can actually provide a lot of cover, can provide you with maybe a way to get into those fights, might be the way Vega Squadron actually wants to go with this. If they want to, though, they could just, well, I mean, they have a lot of flexibility. They can go for pretty much anyone they want.
I gotta question the Zeus pick a little bit. I feel like Shallow Grave is really good against Zeus, as he kind of just throws out his toolkit and then is pretty much useless. He does have the lightning bolt to keep spamming out. But yeah, I don't know that he has the capability to burst down too many of these targets, and you'll often see Pashe Bashu on this Clockwork pick up a Blade Mail, which will do a lot of work versus the Zeus. But either way, they're gonna go for one of those space creation mids that we mentioned that will be the Storm Spirit into the hands of the Vega Squadron. And they did have Cole play it pretty well against them. He didn't get off to a great early game start, however, in that game, and so they will probably look to do that from the side of Vega on the Radiant side, looking to keep their tournament lives, or their tournament hopes alive, I should say. Pashe Bashu picking up the Clockwork towards that off lane. We've got Tron on the Troll Warlord, the stand-in walking towards currently the safe lane. No one going to play in the mid on the Storm Spirit. Seema, the Slayer, on the Dazzle, and Arzeek once again on the Tusk as he was in game 1 of the day.
And for xGame, we got Stallcat, who's going to be handling the mag, currently heading south with everyone else. Actually, Vlad going to be playing the Shadow Shaman, Zeus played by Bignum. Reeves is going to be on the Vengeful Spirit, and that, of course, leaves Mantis on the Medusa. No surprises there. The Storm Spirit pick for Vega, it's a hero that could fight early. It's a hero that could abuse the fact that Shadow Shaman is so slow, and you pretty much just run circles around him. If you grab an Orchid, you could kill off anyone you want. That being said, this makes me a little question the Clockwork pick just a little bit more. If you're going to grab someone with this much inherent initiation, do you really need the Clockwork there as well? It seems like a waste. And, well, first of all, Vega, they're going to try to just secure the bounty rune. They are kind of surrounded, but looks like they have enough power, unless Seema the Slayer is the one to get caught. I don't know if he saw Stallcat and Vlad there. He might have just missed them in the fog of war. xGame, they definitely want to fight here because they have a one-person advantage in Stallcat. He's going to grab that skewer. He's going to go right through the trees and miss everyone. Snake going to fly through, connected to 3 heroes, doing quite a bit of damage. Now the Shard's going to catch you. They have nowhere to run anymore. Tron going to close in, and Vlad going to take an absolute beating here. He's going to be the first blood. Seema the Slayer is going to draw that. Stallcat is also going to die here. He has nowhere to run. That's 2 kills going for Vega, and an amazing start for them. xGame, that was an attempt that was, pretty bold, pretty brave. With the Skewer, you kind of want to make those types of plays because there is so much upside. But if you miss it, you're just 100% screwed. And that's the power of level 1 Ice Shards.
Yeah.
Such a unique skill. Fissure would have done that maybe, but man, Ice Shards being a hero there.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit questionable having the Shadow Shaman up on the high ground as well. If your intention is to pull off something like that Skewer to the low ground, it's not worth risking your Shadow Shaman as well. If they lose the one hero, not the biggest deal, but as you mentioned, great start for Vega here, and they are going to be able to translate that into some early game momentum. They are going to need to, as you mentioned, Clockwork Storm Spirit a little bit redundant, and therefore it looks like the late game is handily in the favor of xGame.
Yeah, so for Vega, it's going to be a nice start for them, but they're definitely going to have to not let up with this pressure. The mid lane, Storm Spirit versus Zeus, got a lot of lightning being thrown around between these 2 heroes. Overall, Zeus should take a lead in this lane, assuming the Storm Spirit doesn't have a great time. Though, with the Magic Stick, the Storm Spirit's time is going to be substantially better than it otherwise would be. So Storm Spirit is more or less as prepared as he can be for the Zeus matchup, but still being far away from his bottle is going to make things a little bit hairy for him. I would say the offlanes probably have an equally bad time in this game, so it's going to be probably level 6 on Vega Storm Spirit, where they are going to actually look to make things really happen, whereas for xGame, they're going to play this as slow and steady as they possibly can, get time for Mantis.
Yeah, Stallcat dropping really low to the poison touch and a few right clicks bottom. He's got a salve though, so we'll be able to stay in lane here. xGame doing a little bit better. Already found his level 3 on the clockwork, so with those cogs is able to have a little bit more stayability in lane, and not even a level 2 yet for Stallcat, and that early death for him as well, hindering his ability to start leveling here. CS advantage taken in the mid lane by no one, surprisingly enough, up against the Zeus, and Bignum was able to fill up his bottle here, however, and has brought that out, but simultaneously no one will be able to bring his out, and he's actually going to crow it back to base.
Skewer back down towards bottom. Stallcat's going to bring 2 heroes in tower range, but those 2 heroes are more than happy to get that up and close and personal with that Magnus. Dazzle dropping a little low perhaps, but Shadow Wave after the skewer does do some pretty decent damage, so Mag going to be the casualty, whereas for Pashabashu, he's chasing down Vlad. His battery assaults mostly went to waste, so he can't get this kill, and he really wants to get this kill. Cogs filled with vector damage, probably shouldn't be chasing any longer, but Clockwork in the meantime, you can just see the difference between these 2 heroes in lane, and the weakness of the Medusa versus the Troll Warlord. Clockwork is bullying the enemy supports, whereas Magnus is dying to the enemy supports. And I think that speaks volumes as to how these heroes are going to be performing and farming, and Mag even... he needs more than the Clockwork. Clockwork just needs a level 6. That's literally all he needs.
Right.
He's good to go. He can make a lot of stuff happen. Whereas for Mag level 6, it's not quite there just because it's so hard to land an RP. So this Mag is getting shut down so much more than Clockwork, and he's getting, he needs to get shut down a lot. Wait, he's getting shut down a lot more. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. I'm not gonna try to make that.
Either way, yeah, Pasha taking advantage of as well of the fact that Tron is a little bit willing to fight earlier on this Troll Warlord with the whirling axes, whereas the Medusa kind of just wants to stay in lane for Mantis and find farm, so he is able to dive that deep without really any punishment as long as he's not underneath the tower. So as you mentioned, being a lot more effective in this offlane than is Stallcat's Magnus. He has been able to find a wave under the tower, however, and has found about level 3.5, so caught up fairly well on the Mag, but as you mentioned, is going to need items as well as his levels, whereas the Clock just really needs that hook shot.
And also at a certain point, the Troll Warlord is going to be able to hold down the lane by himself. A level 5 versus level 3 hero, I think he's at that point, if not very close to that point. He doesn't really need that much help to deal with this Mag. It's of course not going to be as firm a grip on this lane as previous with the supports roaming around, but man, you get more pressure down over towards the mid lane, you're golden. Whereas for xGame, Medusa will eventually get to a point where she could run the lane versus Clockwork, but Clock being so close to level 6 is going to mean that he could turn things around and kill off the Medusa in a hurry, and that is just the worst case scenario possible for xGame. You never want to lose your Medusa ever. You especially don't want to lose her in a lane where she should be doing slightly better up against a hero who should not be killing her. Pashabashu is going to be just fine in doing so, and Mag does not have the opportunity. So Vega, though their supports aren't super aggressive, the fact that they're not needed in the bottom lane means that they're going to be able to apply a lot more pressure towards Bignum in mid.
Yeah, and without farm, the Zeus, another pretty underwhelming hero. Top lane, though, Reeves is going to get caught out by Pashabashu in the cogs. He will be able to just walk away from this one, but he will run into Vlad in the river, who does have the shackle as well as the ether shock, and just going to need the shock. One right click will find a nice return kill onto the Clock, but being the offlaner and picking up that level 5, almost level 6, they're certainly worth it for Pashabashu.
And over in the meantime, in the mid lane, it was that no one combined with our Zeke to kill off the Zeus of Bignum. He had a haste rune at some point. I checked his bottle and he had that recently, but I don't really know what happened there, as Storm Spirit, I believe, was level 6 already. They got a solo kill, or a dual kill on the Zeus, so now the level 6 advantage for Storm Spirit. Hell, he's even going to hit level 7 before the Zeus gets to level 6. Bignum's power as a Zeus in this lane comes to the fact that he'll be able to constantly chip down the enemies, or chunk down the enemies, I should say, because Zeus does so much damage. But now being so far behind in lane, his burst damage is not going to save him. Yeah, he'll be able to throw out some lightning towards Storm Spirit, but Storm Spirit's sustained damage output at this point is way too high for Bridon to deal with. So no one handily winning his lane versus that Zeus and Vega. They're looking so fantastic moving forward. Like, they have the kill advantage, they have a lot more last hits going towards them, and they have heroes that could get more stuff going early on. It's going to be dangerous for xGame. They're going to have to be on the super defensive now that both the Clockwork and Storm Spirit are ready to make their initiation. And speaking of, they're going to go towards mid. This time, the Vlad is here, so no one's going to have a little bit more of a tough time. Shard's going to fly through. No one not taking too much damage. Here comes Snowball onto Vlad, whereas no one gets a Shadow Wave heal. Vlad is going to be the one beaten down as no one wants to go for Bignum. I don't think he has quite enough gas in the tank to kill off the Zeus, but that's fine because they already got one kill. And Reed's going to teleport in. Level 3 Vengeful Spirit might get a magic missile onto Arzeek with Lightning Bolt follow-up. That will be a kill. Yes, there it goes. Arzeek actually no getting get bailed out by the Shallow Grave, and Tusk is going to live to fight another day. Mana situation on Bignum nowhere close to the mana needed to pop that Thunder God's Wrath. So Arzeek luckily going to limp back to the base and will be a-okay.
Yeah, that's something I alluded to in the draft. I feel like Shallow Grave really good up against Zeus. No tick damage and all burst there for him. So Shallow Grave able to keep up our Zeke there, and a very nice trade in the mid lane. No one thus far in this Group C has had anything and can't even hold a candle to xGame thus far. But Vega looking very impressive in this one. Battle Trance popped bot lane by Tron. He'll bring down half of this tower already. Stallcat having to rotate over to that mid lane was a little bit too late to enter the fray, and he's quite a ways off. His Blink Dagger doesn't even have boots at this point and is not even level 6 on the mag. So the early game going very well for the side of Vega.
And soon enough, they're going to very liberally start using their Battle Trance to get kills and get towers shortly after. This farm on Mantis, it's there. I mean, there is a Medusa who's going to slowly but surely get up to that full Medusa state, but that takes a hell of a long time in general, and it takes a hell of a lot longer when you compare her to the likes of Troll Warlord, who could, you know, open up a can of whoop ass right now if he really wanted to. So Medusa is going to need a lot more time to get going in xGame. They so far don't really have heroes that could hold down the fort. Zeus and Mag would be those heroes. That's the plan, at least. But just the degree at which they're being shut down makes it so much difficult for them to get that going. Also, the Shadow Shaman, if he had a little more levels, then maybe they could make a push happen, get some extra tower gold, but the Serpent Wards are not going to be up for a very long time. So right now, Vega, they have full control of the game. It's going to be just a matter of time before they decide to make a real serious play onto an objective for Vega, whether it's going to be a gank, whether it's going to be a tower push, or both. It looks like that actually might be happening right now, since Seema and Arzeek, they're heading up towards the north with Pashu Bashu packing that hook shot. If he lands a hook shot onto anyone, that's going to be a kill.
Yeah, they do have the snowball into the cogs, so that's definitely a nice mechanic there. Bignum playing so scared in this middle lane. Hasn't even found his level 7 yet, and we've almost got a level 9 Storm Spirit up for no one as well. The only one really keeping up in levels at this point from the Dire side is Mantis' Dusa. And top lane, we will have Pashe Bashu slightly scout out Mantis here. He's got a Rocket Flare, and the hook shot did whiff prior to that, so unable to find some initiation.
Left for a second, gets jumped on by no one, but lots of lightning damage return. Thunder God's Wrath not quite enough, and Storm Spirit now getting healed up with the bottle and Shadow Wave. Looks like the Thunder God's Wrath lightning not quite enough to do anyone in, but it will keep top lane pretty much safe. But no, Bignum wants to go in. No one wants to go in for round 2. He will get that kill now. Seema is there with a little bit of healing for no one. He's completely surrounded though, and pretty much with SOL, but he will go down swinging. And now Stallcat teleporting in as well. Has the RP. Got roughed up by the Troll Warlord before he could land, though. It's going to be a 1-for-1 kill over towards the mid lane. Storm Spirit getting the kill on Zeus before he dies, though, so he's very happy about that. Next game, also forcing a TP out from their mag. Not good times for them. Things continuously get worse and worse.
Yeah, Pashe Bashu also zoning back Medusa as Tron completely free farms in this bottom lane. They're going to pop the glyph for this tier 1, but he'll be able to take this with relative ease. TP will probably be a little bit too late from Bignum. They're actually going to look to zone him out with a couple of TPs, and they will back Tron off and be able to deny this tower as it is at 90 HP. The shards will go out, though. Whirling axes are there as well. The snowball into the Vengeful Spirit, and they'll bring him down. That'll be Reeves going down early, and they will take a kill for their troubles. So despite the tower deny, he will group up and perhaps looks to go forward. Ball lightning forward from the no one Storm Spirit. He uses his entire mana pool. Will get hexed up here, but they'll bring down Vlad fairly easily. And with that soul ring, able to jump a hell of a ways forward on the Storm Spirit. 9-2 is your score for Vega thus far, and Mantis really the only relevant hero now from xGame.
ball lightning jumped that large, man, you gotta be so scared of your xGame. You can put up your wards and try to be defensive in that sense, but it's only going to help you so much. The tower deny certainly is nice for xGame. If they didn't get that, then they would be just in so much trouble. But instead of that, they're just in a moderate to high amount of trouble, as you know, you don't get the tower kill if you're Vega. You're going to be a little bit bummed about that. But getting 2 kills is a perfectly good trade. Up towards top, HeflaTV can open up once again onto Mantis. This time with help from Tron. Stonegaze is there, going to keep the troll up in the air in a ball. That's actually pretty cool. Stallcat missing his spear in the meantime. Here comes the Ice Shards. Has an RP, which will land onto 4. If he could get it out. He got perma-stunned by the battery assault, plus Tron's bashes, and Mag. I mean, you just need like a couple of milliseconds to get that RP out. It wouldn't have even saved him, but he gets annihilated anyway. Now this top lane tower is also going to fall, even through fortification. This is a bad space for xGame to be in. If they lose their top lane, maybe Medusa gets a little bit more time to farm, but she needs like 30 more minutes before she could actually handle the rest of Vega's heroes, because no one else on her team is really going to be helping.
Yeah, I really feel like if he spent the RP there, excuse me, it would have been a total waste either way. The Either Storm or the Stonegaze already used by the Dusa. So Magic Missile is going to go out onto no one, but he'll be able to zip away just fine. He's got a haste rune as well. And Skewer down from Stallcat is a little bit over pursuit, but he will try to vortex him up to the high ground, and this will give Stallcat the ability to throw a shockwave into him. No one is going to get RP'd up, and the Thunder God's Wrath will be there from Bignum. So no one a little bit too cocky with that haste rune and will pay with his life. That's a big kill going the way of xGame, especially for heroes that were doing super poorly in the Zeus and the Magnus. So nice little pick off for them. Still Vega with a considerable lead at this point.
Man, Storm Spirit was so asking for that. Like, bringing the Magnus up to the high ground, that's bold enough. But then trying to flirt with the Magnus pack in an RP, I guess the dream there is you dodge the RP because you have a haste rune, but that's a little bit difficult to actually have accomplished. Over towards mid, the Serpent Wards are dropped. Usually, once you hit level 6 and you grab those Serpent Wards, you want to be claiming a tower or a Roshan or something. It looks like these wards are just going to serve to damage the tier 1 tower. Certainly less than ideal for the xGame Shadow Shaman, as he needs this gold. Everyone on xGame, in fact, needs this tower gold, but instead Vega take a little bit of tower damage. Not really any way to prevent that, but they're back up and they're ready to fight again if need be, with everyone actually rotating towards the mid lane. Stallcat looking pretty tasty, Roshan looking pretty tasty. They know that RP and Serpent Wards are down. They could claim Roshan in a hurry. Do they have a medallion? Yes, they do on Dazzle. Plus, they have Troll Warlord packing some lifesteal. This Roshan is going to fall in a hurry, and there's nothing that xGame can really do about this.
Yeah, they're even going to pop the weave.
90% sure they know this is happening.
Yeah, they're even going to pop the weave, and as you mentioned, RP down, so the only real influential spell is Stonegaze from Mantis's Dusa, and the weave armor will mitigate that extra physical damage coming out from that. Hook top lane is barely going to whiff onto Mantis, and Magic Missile goes out onto HeflaTV. They can swap him back as well. Reeves does have the mana here, but just barely going to get out of range. Rotating in is Stallcat, however. He can go for a skewer forward into the shockwave, but not quite enough kill potential. Snake going to bounce out. Going to bring HeflaTV actually very low here, and he probably will have to back off on the Clockwork. He is fairly close to his blade mail, only about 450 gold away from that. They will have Tron teeping up to defend this towards the top lane. He's going to catch a Magic Missile right away, as well as a Shockwave, but no RP. Going to be expended here. Jump forward from no one. He's going to bring him in with the Vortex. Easy kill for the Storm Spirit there. He's hitting very hard at this point, already sitting at level 11 with that max overload. And we will see Mantis have to rotate back, as well as Reeves. So very nice easy kill onto Stallcat. They're also going to aggress forward onto this tier 1 mid lane. Bignum not quite enough on by his lonesome to defend this. Sigil also going to go out to slow down the wave and scout out the tree line. But they won't find much here, and should be an easy tower. Glyph is available for xGame. They will pop it, but only going to delay the inevitable here. Battle Trance now popped as well from Tron, and easy tower going the way of Vega. No one picking up the last hit on the Storm Spirit there. He's pretty close to his Orchid here, and they will find HeflaTV with the Vlad Shadow Shaman, as well as that Thunder God's Wrath.
Even trade, hookshot in, Serpent Wards dropped, and Clockwork most of the time is not going to escape that, but he still got a kill, and he still got a kill before he died, so nice little pickup for the Clockwork there, and it's going to bring him that much closer to his Blade Mail. So another big item, or another influential item, is xGame. They have a lot of burst damage that they can somewhat control versus the Clock, but man, if they end up lightning bolting a Blade Mail, then the Zeus is just going to be so many layers of unhappy there. But for right now, 12-4, obviously Vega have a nice lead right now. They are getting to a point where they're going to be looking for some tier 2s, and it looks like they're going to play very similar to how they played last game, in that they do have a lot of late game, but they are going to instead decide to pressure early on. I think that's really nice as a strategy versus the Medusa. It's probably going to go unpunished given their lead. They're going to go for another tower push, and in xGame they haven't defended any of their towers thus far. The odds of them defending this one is so incredibly low, especially with no one positioned so aggressively, being ready to jump in. This tower is going to fall, and he still has the Aegis. If Vega want to, they could just take all their tier 2 towers, exactly like what they just did.
Yep, and they have the BKB to come out soon as well for Tron. He's about 375 gold away. Jump in mid, hook shot as well. Stallcat gonna be melted here. And a nice synergy there from Pashe Bashu and No One. A little bit redundant as we mentioned earlier on, but they'll jump in on that Magnus, bring him down quick. Zeus split push is real here, but not really. And he's going to back off from the Rocket Flare here. They're going to take the tier 2, as you mentioned, for the side of Vega and secure their advantage here. They're choking Mantis back towards his side of the map. He has shown himself towards the wave bottom. Battle Trance popped mid over top the Glyph, and they will be able to bring down this tier 2 with relative ease. And with this weave up for the next little bit as well, the Stone Gaze is not going to be too scary for them to fight into, but they'll just take this tier 2 and be content with their spoils. Back off for the time being. That's 50 gold until Tron's BKB, and he will pick it up now.
Troll Warlord packing a dangerous item, and Storm Spirit packing a just as dangerous, if not more so, item in that Orchid. Pashe Bashu very close to his Blade Mail. Pretty much it's Vega getting everything they could possibly want. Maybe a Blink Dagger down the line for the Tusk, but honestly he doesn't need anything, nor does the Dazzle. The top lane tier 2 should be the objective for Vega. Roshan, their Aegis is still up for a little while longer, but not really enough time to make any use of it. But man, they really didn't have any chances to use the Aegis because xGame are always away from the map whenever Vega are going to want to make plays. So it's going to be the last tier 2 tower that's very quickly going to take a fall. If you're a team and it's 20 minutes in and you no longer have your tier 2 towers, it's usually up against like a Chen or a Jakiro or someone along those lines. It's not usually up against this type of lineup.
Yeah, Troll does accelerate your push, but he's not something on paper that you look at and say 18 minutes into the game, I'm going to have one outer tier tower left. So definitely Vega able to apply some pressure, and it's certainly warranted into a Medusa. They definitely want to keep this up, and with that BKB a pickup as well as the Blade Mail, they will be able to do so. Meanwhile in the river, Pashe Bashu going to get hexed up, Magic Missiled as well, but the support duo of xGame is a little bit worried about any support inbound from Vega, and unfortunately had they known the position of Vega, they probably could have gone in for some kill potential on that one. Meanwhile, their tier 2 being chunked down very quickly underneath the Battle Trance by Tron. Zip forward as well from No One. He's just going to clean up the creep wave here, and that's an easy tier 2 going the way of Tron. That's the last outer tier tower remaining for xGame. And taking a look 19 minutes in at the net worth, it's a 10k net worth lead generated by Vega, 7,500 in the way of experience as well. And they are going to look up to farm up these wards. Bot lane defensive weave popped by Sima onto Arzik, and Pashe Bashu jump forward, RP onto 2. Shockwave is there, Ether Shock as well. Skewer the Thunder God's Wrath. They will bring down 2. Pashe Bashu going to get swapped out of his cogs. He'll pop the Blade Mail here, but the Shockwave going to finish him off from Stallcat. And a nice little series of events goes the way of xGame. Finally a little bit of momentum going the way. Nice RP coming out from Stallcat as he does pick up the Blink Dagger, and maybe they're even able to translate this into a tier 1.
It's a brand new Blink Dagger for the Mag, and that is going to allow xGame to actually start to make some plays now. Like, they can do something. That's always nice to have done, but No One is going to continue to fight down towards bottom, ball ending back and forth. Here comes the real heavy hitter, and Tron with BKB up. No One take a little damage. Vlad might escape this one. No, he won't. Tron's doing way too much damage. Bignum will be the one to leave, but xGame sticking around for just a little bit too long. I mean, Vega, they get cleaned up on the bottom lane previously, get hit with the RP, and it was pretty much, you know, the actions spoke for themselves. But we also have to keep in mind that Vega, those are all like the real light heroes. Storm Spirit and the Troll Warlord, those are the heavies. Those are the ones who are actually going to be doing damage, who are very difficult to bring down. And I don't know if it would have gone much differently if they were there when the RP hit. Maybe they would have gotten hit as well. Who knows? But these are the heroes that xGame are scared of. And if they avoid these heroes, then they're going to be golden, clearly, as we just saw. But As long as those heroes are in the front lines, it's going to be hard for xGame to defend. And Vega up towards top lane, he's going to hit with Snowball, Shadow Wave damage after a Walrus Punch. It's such an easy combo to execute. It's not the highest damage combo in the game, but up against Zeus, anything is going to work. With Zeus down, this opens the door for a high ground push.
Yeah, Mantis does have the Stone Gaze now available. RP still not up for 20 seconds here, and with that Zeus down for the side of xGame, they certainly do have the wherewithal to push. No BKB, however, for another 10 seconds for Tron. He'll have his mana drained out mostly as well, and perhaps that'll sound the retreat despite having this weave popped up here for Vega. Maybe they look for Roshan. Still about 40 seconds until the minimum spawn time for the Rosh there, unfortunately for Vega, and Mantis will be able to farm up this mid lane a bit with the Snake, but still playing pretty defensively as you would expect him to. Bashu looking for a hook with some Radiant Vision here, or just a solo kill as someone walks up the hill, as most of his lineup has backed off towards their side of the river.
They don't have to look for a high ground push if they really don't want to, mostly because they have a lot more kill potential within like smaller groups of their heroes. Clearly Dazzle and Tusk can get kills by themselves. Storm Spirit certainly can get kills by himself. Clockwork Control the exact same way. Vega, they're able to set up a real perimeter and restrict the farm space of xGame, whereas for xGame, their kill potential, if Zeus or Mag or Mag are not there, they are not going to be able to kill off anyone unless they want to drop Serpent Wards, and that's something they really don't want to do willy-nilly for a random kill. So xGame, they have to wander around as a group of 5, or at least a group of 3, whereas for Vega, they can afford to just go off on their own and just mess around, look for kills solo, and that just means that they have more coverage on the map, more map control through just hero confidence, I guess I could say.
Right.
That means that there's less farm space for the Medusa, more farm space for Vega, and overall they're just going to be extending their lead. Grab that next item, and then eventually that high ground push is going to come.
Yeah, and they really have no rush. They are choking the side of xGame into their base entirely. Mantis is not farming right now. He has found the full Scotty, however, so we'll be able to mount a defense here. 10k net worth on the Medusa. A little bit, behind Tron, as well as no one on the Storm Spirit. No one picking up a BKB of his own, has completed it now, however, and he will be able to have free reign over most of these fights. And now with the BKB on the Storm Spirit, with the BKB on the Troll, the Blade Mail on the Clockwork, and the Grave available to Dazzle, I really worry for this Zeus's ability to do anything in these engagements.
His dream scenario is he's very far away. He gets cover with an RP, and then he's just able to keep his distance and throw out lightning bolts. But again, that's a lot of things to get right, especially now that Storm Spirit has a BKB. They're going to run Flash Botch and will blow a smoke. The ultimate is there to scout out the Roshan, but it's too late. Tron is already going to grab that Aegis. Now the fight's going to break out with no one and Tron with both BKBs. They will all get hit with an RP, but there's not enough damage to actually kill them off convincingly enough. Flash Botch dropping very low. No one will get himself out of there. Serpent Ward is now down on the deck. Tron is going to have to make his way out. He will die as no one's going to make his return. Ball ending deep through the enemy side. He's in a lot of trouble though. No more BKB. He actually didn't end up popping it at all. Buyback from the Clockwork, but just like that, xGame off of an RP from Mag going to make things happen. And again, that's the dream scenario. You have an RP. That is something that you never count on our team when they have that available. If you could land the RP, you could win the fight.
Yeah, and the smoke was popped early by Bashu, and still, for some reason, Vega looked to take that engagement uphill into an RP and a Stone Gaze, and you definitely see the potency of xGame's team fight lineup here, and they will get a little bit of a recovery for Mantis there. He's going to take now second overall on the net worth chart. That instant Hex coming out from the Shadow Shaman, very invaluable in that fight up against no one. Storm Spirit and the BKB not used there from the Storm Spirit. Interestingly enough, he'll feed over his life with that 10-second BKB available to him. But either way, Vega still holding on to a lead here, and they do have the Aegis popped, but they don't lose Tron's life. He'll be able to pick up 2 ultimate orbs of his own, and presumably maybe finish off a Manta, but presumably into a Scotty of his own, being as he picked them up in quick succession.
Yeah, Scotty on Troll Warlord is something we don't often see, just because Troll Warlord tends to be a little bit more bursty, and Scotty is a little bit more of a balanced item, but it's still a good item on anyone, so if you grab it on anyone, you're going to be pretty happy most of the time. So Tron's going to be packing that soon enough, and do Vega really want to make this push happen? Looks like they don't. They're just going to start restricting the lanes once again, make sure that xGame are going to have to make the exact same play that they just did if they want to get out on the map at all. And hopefully for Vega, their game plan is to not get caught out by a huge RP like that. So it's maybe a little bit of downtime in between those types of fights where Vega have the ability to push in with no RP, but RP in general, it is a very dangerous skill, and it doesn't really have the largest cooldown either. So
yeah,
xGame, they're pretty much turtle within their base. Their farm is all going towards Mantis, but that's still fine right now, just because Mantis is getting farmed.
Yeah, and the Stone Gaze also pretty much off cooldown every time the RP is up, especially being that Mantis is now level 16. No one in the top lane all by his lonesome, but he does have the BKB available to him and should be just fine. Mantis just going to look to push this wave back out and farm it up, and everyone pretty spread out from Vega at the moment. HeflaTV farming up the jungle with Tron pushing in that safe lane, and it looks like everyone going to be content to look back and farm right now. No major items imminent, however, for Vega. Really, they did just pick up their BKBs on their two most valuable cores, and the Clockwork not really close to much after picking up that Blade Mail. Battle Trance going to be popped up by Tron to farm up these Ancients, and the Dire Ward will scout him out, but they don't have anyone really in position to fight him up as Mantis is pushing out that top lane.
Right, so I think this is not going to be Vega trying to outright win the game right now. They're going to slow it down, use their advantage as just an advantage and as a way to get a little more farther ahead. The game is not going to end, or the high ground push is not going to come unless Vega finds someone outside of their base, and I think they have the opportunity up towards top where Mantis, Reeves, and Vlad are all going to run straight into a whole bunch of Vega heroes. They're going to open up a Seaman Slayer. It's a nice target to kill first, but they're also kind of surrounded. Actually is going to be our Zeke to be the one surrounded. Snowball, and he's awkwardly stuck here. He's going to go towards Stallcat, I believe, and he will. He doesn't have a Blink Dagger, so he's 100% screwed. The rest of Vega not deciding to reinforce there as they are without their Clockwork. That's the downside of being, spread out like this. You're going to be able to cover more space, but you're also not going to be able to reinforce. So xGame claim a couple kills, still holding on to their RP, and now they're going to claim a tier 1 tower. It's not a terrible series of engagements for xGame over the past couple of minutes as Vega, maybe they're getting a little bit too overconfident with how far ahead they are.
Yeah, they were before. Applied pressure, balling up as 5. Now they're a little bit too spread out, and a very timely smoke bears fruit there for xGame. They also find the tier 1 in the mid. Unfortunately, Mantis with the split shot activated, not able to find that last hit, but they will drop the wards now, and Tron is rotating back. The TPs are inbound as well from HeflaTV's Clockwork. This should be a fairly easy hook onto Mantis, and he will find it through the tree line. Blade Mail popped as well, but Mantis just going to man up, and the Grave will be there. The swap out, though, onto the Medusa as she pops the Stone Gaze through the BKBs of both Tron and No One. Will Stone form them up. She'll be able to TP out. HeflaTV very low. Ghost Scepter popped by Vlad, but no vision for the Ether Shock. Isn't able to find HeflaTV. He'll get healed up from the Shadow Wave, and two supports go over from xGame towards the side of Vega, just as their two supports were fed over earlier on. The tower was destroyed by the Dire, it seems, so actually the Shadow Shaman did find the last hit there, so nice little influx of gold going the way of the SS, and a big deal that that's not denied up, and that Mantis is able to get himself out of danger.
50-second Stone Gaze cooldown, though, and Vega, their Clockwork is none too healthy, but everyone else on Vega, they are able to make some sort of play here, especially if Mantis wanders a little bit too far out from his base. He does know that Clockwork is not healthy right now, and they have a Thunder God's Wrath, which will be lethal on HeflaTV if the Zeus decides to pull the trigger, but what are the chances of that happening, right? HeflaTV should most of the time be fine here, but if he gets a little bit too close to the Dire Observe Ward, he will just get struck down. I'm pretty sure he's dead. Zeus is going to randomly pop it. I'm going to call it right now.
Come on, Bignum. Where's your game sense, Bignum? Either way.
Need that star sense, got these kills, but either way, it looks like Zeus is going to hold on to his right now. Now Clockwork is very, very safe in his own fountain, and it looks like it's just business as usual for Vega. They're happy with taking that team fight victory in their own mid lane. But, I mean, this is eventually going to have to stop. Like, I don't really know when or what's going to happen to make them change their game plan, but this is not going to win them the game.
Yeah, and Mantis is going to scout out a Static Remnant here. No one going to have to zip down towards a regen rune. Probably one of the best runes in the game and the best holders in that Storm Spirit. Rocket Flare is going to scout out a couple of heroes, perhaps Reeves there in the top lane, and maybe they look to push in as they do notice that there is probably a smoke gank occurring as both the mid lane and the off lane for xGame are pushing in with no one defending them, but now they will TP back Mantis and look to defend here, so any gank attempt from xGame is going to be thwarted. However, Roshan not up for at least another minute. And perhaps that's what Vega waits to sound their high ground push here. They are allowing Mantis to recover fairly nicely in this game, though. He's got 3,700 gold in addition to his Manta, but is postured up pretty deep behind enemy lines and can be picked off here as the wave will soon scout him out. Tron available as well as Pache rotating in with the hook. He will scout out most of the lineup of xGame, though. Bignum and Stallcat certainly so. Orchid comes out. Stone Gaze going to be popped, however, by Mantis. He will be able to Manta off that Orchid, and he's going to take the tower bot lane. Yep, last hit going his way, and the Stone Gaze is down, so perhaps they look to re-engage here. Yeah, there's a hook coming in from Pache. Bashu instantly hexed up, though. Wards are going to be dropped. Magic Missile is there. Lightning Bolt takes him down. RP onto 3 from Stallcat. They'll bring down everyone. Grave is there keeping up Tron, but he's under his BKB trying to TP out, and he'll be chopped down as well. xGame clawing their way back into this one, and Dazzle, Seema the Slayer, going to pop a smoke to get that extra move speed and get away from this one, but buybacks available only on the Storm and on the Troll Warlord, so definitely the two most influential heroes here, but xGame lose absolutely nothing but their cooldowns in that one.
That was initiation that any team would have made there, and like, you know, the enemy team doesn't have their Stone Gaze. That is a big ultimate that they spent to take a tower. That's not going to help them immediately in this fight yet. Grouping up just a little bit too much, and Stallcat delivers huge once again with that RP. Man, his early game was terrible, yet even despite that, he's still performing on this Magnus. Just a testament to how Magnus is able to perform if you get him enough. And what he needs is a Blink Dagger. And he got that Blink Dagger, and he is doing so well with it. Vega, they're now going to have their own structures slowly disassembled as xGame going to put some serious pressure down towards bottom lane, dropping the tower down to half HP. They aren't going to make a Doom push for it because of no one's having bought back. But that's fine. xGame, they take a massively one team fight. They claim a couple of buybacks from Vega. And as you said, they don't lose a single darn thing. xGame, they're suddenly in a pretty decent position right now. It's not impossible for Vega to come back from this, since you know, they still have a really big Troll Warlord. They still have a Storm Spirit who's packing. But xGame, they're just playing in such a tighter way than Vega. It seems like Vega, maybe themselves, getting a little bit too comfortable with their spread out nature. I was going to say that at a certain point, you're able to use your use that spread out kind of split push tactic to your advantage, and that you will have bait opportunities, but that's clearly not going to be the case. xGame, they're calling every single bluff that Vega is making, and they're clawing their way back into this game with a very stacked Medusa now. Butterfly, Eye of Scotty, Manta, as long as she has Stone Gaze, she's not dying.
Yeah, and the RP to cover it as well. And the Zeus for Bignum has been surviving in the last couple engagements. He's been able to pick up a 4-staff, so a little bit of mobility there to help him survive. Unfortunately, for the side of Vega, still about a minute and a bit until this Roshan spawns. And by that time, xGame will be here available to fight. Tron's BKB down to 6 seconds. They're going to use the Thunder God's Wrath to scout things out here. BKB still up at 9 seconds for no one, but they are certainly going to be worried about Tron's ability to survive. He is the bulk of their damage in most of these team fights, and the Blade Mail from the Clockwork, they haven't really been dropping too much on him. Mantis the only one to fight into that. The smoke is going to get popped, swapped down to the low ground. That's only Seema the Slayer, but it is the Dazzle who is there to keep up some of these heroes, and this should be a Roshan forfeit over to the side of xGame. 40 seconds on the sideline. Mantis is going to have to retreat, though, to defend up top lane, and don't know that they have the damage to bring down this Roche without their Medusa.
They may not have enough damage, but at the same time, Vega probably don't have enough either. Without their Dazzle, they certainly don't want to get into a fight in these close quarters up against Stallcat, whose RPs have been amazing so far. Not a good situation for Vega to fight into. So it's going to be the Medusa claiming the farm, making sure that top lane is pushing towards the Radiant side of the map, while at the same time not losing any objectives to the Vega side. And now that Mantis has returned, I don't know if the Medusa is quite at a point where she could just walk in and solo Roshan.
Right.
It will be very expensive towards her mana pool, so she probably doesn't want to do that. But she's very close to doing that. And Vega, they're going to pretty much have no other option but to chill around this area and just wait until xGame make a move. Because they have the Rocket Flare, they'll be able to scout, but if they leave, xGame swoop in and take Roshan, and then things get really bad for Vega. So they have to stay in their own jungle right now. Whereas for xGame, they don't have to, really. They could just leave a couple heroes there just to force Vega to stay and then farm with everyone else. But for right now, they're going to roam around. They see a gem on the floor, which is randomly still there. This is a rotation spotted by Pashibachi's ward, but it's not going to save him. Wards get dropped. Thunder God's Wrath as well. Swap back, force that Pashibachi. That's not going to help you. He will go down, and Medusa's going to claim that one as well. They're also going to take out the Observe reward. And Clockwork, I thought he was going to survive there, given that Observe reward, but the Blink initiation from Shadow Shaman, Blink Hex, we see it on Lion all the time nowadays. Not as much as Shadow Shaman, but it works the exact same way. It'll get them a Clockwork kill, and it'll get them a Roshan to boot.
Yeah, they can definitely take the Roche here. The top lane is pushed in, and it looks like Tron as well as No One are going to look to try and find some structural damage while they are taking this Roche. The mid lane right postured up just outside the base of xGame, but they do have a glyph available, so certainly can take this Roche on very quickly and be able to mount a defense here. But we will have a DC from Stallcat, and he's definitely a big part of this team fight for xGame. So we'll wait this one out, and this could be pretty much the game-deciding engagement here. Pashe Bashu's still down, so they are going to have to back out from the side of Vega when TPs are inbound from xGame, especially considering that the RP as well as the Stone Gaze are up for this one. So will be interesting to see how much damage, how quickly they can get done onto this tier 3, but I still expect it with the glyph available to be around 50% HP. We will have a reconnect here from Stallcat, so hopefully we can get these issues remedied here quickly and get back into this one.
And xGame, even if they do lose their tier 3 tower, which I don't even think is going to happen,
right,
it's not really going to bother them that much, because they know that once they start using their TP scrolls, they're going to be able to force Vega back at the very least, or start a fight on their own terms. The problem here for xGame is that they only have, or the Medusa doesn't have a TP, the Magnus doesn't have a TP either, so it's going to be a little bit slow, and maybe Vega aren't going to expect it. You know, who knows? Maybe the wraparound is going to work out in xGame's favor, but they have to kill Roshan, walk all the way up here, and then take a team fight where Vega are going to have so much time to position themselves perfectly, get the Dazzle in the back, have Tusk ready for that defensive snowball, and, well, xGame, they're going to have Aegis and Cheese, so they're not going to lose the fight. But Vega, they're going to be able to disengage, probably, very safely.
Yep, and they will have to walk 3 back to the mid lane, as only Reeves as well as Bignum do have the TPs, as you mentioned. And pause comes out from xGame. Bignum already going to start TPing back here on the Zeus, and going to look to defend this up in the mid lane. Roche going to be melted. Meanwhile, Glyph has been popped in the mid lane. Bignum a little bit risky here, but does have the haste rune, and No One going to have to back off. So pretty much nothing lost, and as I mentioned during the pause, tier 3 at about 50% HP, so nothing lost but a glyph cooldown. They pick up the Roshan, that'll be an extra life over towards Mantis's Medusa. Cheese goes the way of presumably Stallcat. Yep, he's the one who's picked that up. Also Ogre Club on his person on the way to his BKB, presumably got 2,300 gold in addition there. And Stallcat gonna need a reconnect as his ping is pretty whack at this point. In the way of item progression for Vega, Hex is not too far off for No One. He's about 1,300 gold for that Mystic Staff. But other than that, nothing really to write home about. Seam of the Slayer on the Dazzle has picked up a Rod of Aoi. The Scotty is now complete for Tron as well. But, I mean, nothing really game-breaking at this point coming out from Vega. And it looks like the graphs have changed drastically from what was a 10k lead in net worth to Vega to now about equilibrium. And a 10k net worth, or experience lead also brought down to about parity.
And next game, they have the Medusa late, and that's going to be, most of the time, enough to just punch your way to a victory. Troll Storm Spirit still able to bring her down, but not with the Aegis, not with this much cover, and not with an Empower. So Mantis, he's on the top of the net worth chart as the Medusa, amplified by the extra bonus damage from Empower. And Vega, it just seems like they don't really know what they're trying to do right now. Like, when you have a 10k advantage that early onto the game, like 20 minutes or something, when they had that advantage, your course of play is pretty clear. But when the game is starting to slip, then you start making more and more errors. And as you said, the items for Vega, they're coming up, and they're pretty good items. Like the Rod of Atos is decent. The Sheepstick is a pretty big item, but for the Troll Warlord, he's not going to have any item that he picks up and suddenly he's a lot stronger. Like maybe he grabs a Daedalus or an MKB or a Butterfly or something like that. Those aren't going to come in quite a long time, but even those like are going to pale in comparison when, first of all, you're getting hit with an RP. Second of all, you're going to have to deal with the Stone Gaze, so you can't even right-click the target you want to. So it's getting pretty bad for Vega, quite honestly, as xGame. They've fought through the worst of it, and now Vega are going to have to be the ones to rely on taking fights outside or very far away from the xGame base, and that's exactly not what they want to do. They want to be fighting right outside of the base so that they could push in shortly after with the cooldown battle trance.
Yeah, and if there is an item coming out for Tron, it really does need to be that MKB with this butterfly up for Mantis. They really don't have too much in the way to deal with her, considering her effective HP, and he's quite a ways off an MKB at this point, so definitely worrisome for Vega. They are going to posture up all in the enemy jungle, aside from Bashu, who did die a little bit earlier in the Radiant jungle, and Rune going to be found here by the Storm Spirit. It's just a bounty rune, no bottle as well to fill up. He's actually pretty low on mana, and it looks like storming down the mid lane is xGame here, looking for a push with this Aegis and Cheese in tow, and the advantage they have secured, at least on Mantis' Medusa, over top of the cores of the enemy team.
At the very least, they're going to try to force Vega to come back from this. Mantis is right now all alone, and if Vega knew that, Mantis would be in so much trouble right now, but now the rest of her team is slowly starting to filter, and by slowly filtering in, I mean very slowly. Like, they're very agitated, strolling down towards Mantis, who's, already going to get to work, killing off the tower. Now we're going to go for the Sigil. That's pretty important. The Serpent Warriors are on the deck. This is probably going to be the death of range Rax at the very least. Blink in for a Hex onto Tron. Force Staff out will keep him safe for now, as they land a weave only onto Mantis, who's still sitting in the front lines with that Aegis Butterfly. He's doing a lot more damage to everyone in Vega just with the split shots. No one's focusing him. Now he's going to get cogged in by Bashu, but Mantis doesn't care. He actually is not going to attack Vega a single time just with split shot. Man, I see that happening with Luna. I don't think I've ever seen a Medusa who's able to comfortably do that.
Yeah, literally with her back turned to the lineup of Vega, and Tron dropping extremely low there. Had to get Force Staff to safety, and that's probably one of the easiest lanes of Rax I've ever seen taken, certainly so in the Bridon group, with all 5 members of Vega up, not willing to fight into this Aegis Cheese. Stonegaze RP jump forward though from no one. He's going to find out Reeves, and with his BKB a pop, but the Force Staff is there from the Vengeful Spirit. Swap is available as well. No mana left onto no one Storm Spirit. He does have the Orchid, so if he gets off one Ball Lightning with the Overload, should be able to bring him back, but a swap forward onto Mantis. He's going to put a lot of right click into no one. Hook forward will finish off the Vengeful Spirit. Mantis is being thrown up into the air, does have the Stone Gaze, will elect to pop it, and Tron going to turn tail and run. The Courier also comes in, gets killed off in the meantime. Mantis bringing down the Sigil. Gem is on the deck. Bashu having to turn and run, and Mantis is literally the only one here. An entire lineup of Vega running away. Hex on the sideline. Seema the Slayer brought down with the Ether Shock from Vlad, and still with the Aegis available for Mantis, and the Dazzle down for 40 seconds. Vega losing quite a bit there, but Mantis just not healthy enough to run down the mid lane. Either way, definitely a scary sight if you're a Vega fan.
It's a testament to how powerful this Medusa is right now. Now that she's going to be packing a Demon Edge item, she's going to be able to kill off all of Vega instead of just making them all run away. And I love that in that fight, like, the Zeus was farming mid, and then he stops by a secret shop and was just like chilling there deciding what to buy while Mantis was just fighting everyone. So it's like, yeah, Mantis, you got this. You're fine. You have like 1,000,000 HP with your full mana pool, and you have an Aegis. So seriously, what's the worst that could happen? They don't really care about what happens with their Medusa. I mean, they're gonna protect her, obviously, but she's so powerful that 1v4, and they're content with just letting her chill there. She was pretty much unstoppable. I guess that is mostly because they have the Aegis at this point, but still, xGame, they're so comfortable in this game with such a stacked Medusa and Vega. At this point, I don't think they have enough damage to deal with her effectively. The Eye of Scotty on Troll Warlord, then BKB, or Helmet Dominator, Eye of Scotty, BKB, these are not items to kill a Medusa. These are items to survive himself, and the dream for permabashing her isn't even there because she has a butterfly. Yeah. You can't actually do that, so for xGame, they're going to be pushing down the mid lane, and Vega, maybe they are going to be regretting the fact that they haven't purchased MKBs, but I think I've seen this before. Mantis with the split shot, sometimes turned on, going to be going to town on everyone. Cog's going to bump her back. Sigil's going to come in, which is probably the best tool, or one of the best tools that Vega actually has dealing with this Medusa. There it goes. Tower's down, and they have to go sometime, or else if you're not going to go, then you might as well just concede the game. You can't just give Rax over to Medusa like this, but they can't find an opening.
Yeah, they'll try to burn it down.
They might as well just tap out.
Yeah, they're going to try to burn it down with the cogs a couple of times, but burning away 2/3 of Medusa's mana pool, not worth losing a full lane of Rax, in fact 2, with her still having the Aegis ready, and they'll just back off with their heads held high for xGame. And Vega really looking good in the first 20 minutes, but certainly been outclassed in the last 10. And with the Aegis still available for about 10 seconds, it will be reclaimed here now. And Mantis will be able to regen back up. xGame take a free lane of racks and can look to continue on here after. They do have that MKB up, as you mentioned, on Mantis, and looking pretty scary. They haven't even used an RP in the last little while, and Stallcat has been very on point thus far. So if they get jumped into an RP, I mean, the entire lineup of Vega is dead. Talking about buybacks, the Radiant side only has one on their Tusk, and so their ability to fight here without buybacks is really slim. Jump forward though from No One. He's gonna pick off Vlad, but he'll get the Ghost Scepter off, and even under the BKB, No One dropping so low, he's gonna be able to zip up to the high ground and will be able to get away. Swap back onto Pashe Bashu. He'll run back down to the north, but the snowball will be there to keep our Zeke safe for one moment. But Tipo trying to battle trance and man up. He's gonna get caught. 2-man RP is there. Tipo dropping really low. He'll get the shallow grave off, but it's only gonna delay the inevitable. Hook does come out. Stone Gaze is there onto Pashe Bashu. Not even needed. And that's 3 down. Double kill going Mantis' way. Seam of the Slayer TPing out on the high ground. And either way, no buybacks available for all 3 heroes dead. And this is more or less GG territory imminent.
Mantis has a cheese now and getting earned up back to full HP. They cannot kill this Medusa. Even if, like, you put the Vega team in an arena with just Mantis, I'm pretty sure Mantis with Empower will come out on top, especially if he has Aegis and or cheese. xGame, I mean, their RP it's mostly RP for the sake of RP at this point. It's like, hey, I have cooldown. I might as well use it just so I could say I did. But they honestly didn't even need the RP there. It was just Vega constantly on the retreat. No one is going to buy back instantly. Get annihilated. Actually, with Shallow Grave, not instantly. Slowly getting annihilated, but he will eventually die. He gets Vlad before he dies, but xGame, they were at a 12k disadvantage with both Golden Experience. They don't care because off of a couple of good RPs and a very far Medusa, they're going to take the game from They're going to take the game away from Vega.
Yeah, very commendable grit and perseverance there from xGame. Unfortunately for Vega, perhaps fatigue playing a role there, falling off as the game wore on, and they tried to apply pressure early, but then decided to start splitting up and farming and gave away a little bit too much to this Medusa. Mantis 5-0-13, no deaths in the game, looking very good. Some really nice play from Stallcat after a poor early game on that Magnus, and that bottom lane engagement when the Clockwork hooked after the use of Stone Gaze really seemed to be the turning point in this one. So xGame will take it, guys. That's 6-0, no losses in Group C. They'll be moving on to group up with BBC and BU and the winner of Group D in the second stage. Thanks for joining us, guys, on Bridon League. Group C coverage is over now. xGame are your winners. Tomorrow, Group D begins. We are HeflaTV, your English coverage. Be sure to follow the stream and follow us on all the social media at HeflaTV if you enjoyed the cast. Any last words for the viewers, Mike?
Well, Group D, in case anyone's curious, it is going to be starting tomorrow at 16:30 CET. Yep. The teams there, LB4E, which is honestly going to be, I don't know, they're probably going to not perform as well as anyone else. Seems like every group has one.
Yeah.
Aspera, London Conspiracy, who have been on an absolute tear. Personally, yep. I think the favorites for Group D, and also Album Sheet. So we're going to see more Bignum. I don't know how that works out, but it does. Don't ask questions.
Bignum and Afterlife actually playing for their own team. Yeah, actually playing for their own team. I think it's probably the tightest matchup in LC and Album Sheet that we've seen thus far. Moscow 5 put up a good fight against BBC, but no real other team has shined enough. So this should be a good one for Group D. Definitely, as Mike mentioned, 16:30 starting tomorrow, guys. Thanks, and GG.